Last season, the Philadelphia 76ers finished with a 43-30 record, and they were one of the more disappointing teams in the league because the amount of talent that they had, most expected them to be a top 3 seed, and some even saw them coming out of the East and making it all the way to the finals. But in the East, they only finished as a 6th seed, which led them to facing the Boston Celtics in the first round, and they ended up getting swept in an embarrassing fashion. Although they didn't have Ben Simmons, it was still a very disappointing playoff loss. But in this year's offseason, they have made some great moves, such as trading away Al Horford's terrible contract, signing Dwight Howard, and getting Danny Green, and much more. So in today's video, I will be discussing how good I think they can be next season, as well as their offseason. Please like this video to help my channel grow, subscribe to my channel to help me reach 500 subscribers before the end of 2020, and comment on this video to start a conversation with me. And play that intro. This year, the 76ers' biggest move was sending Al Horford to the OKC Thunder, and in return getting Danny Green and Terrence Ferguson. OKC also received the 34th pick this year and a future 2025 first round pick. And I think this is an amazing move for the 76ers because they are getting rid of Al Horford, who was a player who just didn't fit well since he was forced to play power forward since the 76ers already had Joel Embiid. And Horford wasn't an above average shooter at the 4 position, and he wasn't quick enough to guard other 4s in the league. On top of Horford being a bad fit, in the previous offseason, they signed him to a large 4-year, $109 million contract. And the fact that they got rid of it while getting more quality role players, saying Danny Green and Terrence Ferguson, has to be a W. And although Danny Green is one of the most hated on and trolled on players, I still think he will be a solid role player because even if he's not hitting his shots, he always will bring solid perimeter defense. And although he's super inconsistent at shooting, defenders still respect his shot, and he brings much needed shooting to the 76ers team that is desperate for shooting. Philadelphia was also involved in a trade that sent Josh Richardson and the 36th pick to Dallas in exchange for Seth Curry. And this is a great move in my opinion for the 76ers because they're losing Josh Richardson, who was a solid player for them, but Seth is a way better shooter, which is what Philly needs. Seth is a top 15 shooter in the league, and he can give the 76ers crazy spacing because there is no chance of defenders leaving him open, which gives way more space for Ben and Joel to do their thing. Seth also has ball handling abilities and could play backup point guard at times. The 76ers also signed Dwight Howard to a 1-year, $2 million deal. And I think this is a great move since last year Dwight was one of the best bench players in the league and he had a huge impact. He was also the second best backup big in the league. And in certain series in the playoffs, he can be an X factor, such as how he was a big X factor in the Lakers series versus Denver with his great defense on Nikola Jokic. So overall, I think Philadelphia has had a huge W this offseason since they added more shooting, which is what they really needed. They also added more depth when they got Dwight Howard, and they got rid of Al Horford's terrible contract. So I think Philly might be one of the biggers in the whole league in this year's offseason. Next season, I expect there to be a lot of pressure on Joel Embiid, since last season, his production went down significantly, because his points went from 27 points and a half in 2019 to 23 points per game in 2020, and all across the board, he was just worse. And with us seeing Nikola Jokic make it all the way to the NBA Conference Finals, where that is somewhere that Embiid has never been, you can argue that Embiid's supporting players are even better than Jokic's, on top of Nikola playing in the tough Western Conference. As of right now, I don't think Embiid is the best center anymore, and I think next season he needs to show that he's the best. There's also some pressure on Ben Simmons, since although he has been an all-star level player every year of his career, it seems like he hasn't improved significantly since his first season, besides on defense. But I still expect Ben to be an all-star level player, and I think he will improve on his jump shot and will be able to hit open threes, which might unlock his game. There's also a potential and real chance that Simmons wins the Defensive Player of the Year next season, because he can guard all 5 positions and is one of the best perimeter and help side defenders in the league. Back in the 2019 offseason, Philadelphia signed Tobias Harris to a 5-year, $180 million deal. And so far, he hasn't lived up to that, with him being paid like a superstar level player, but he hasn't even played like an all-star. And I think because of this contract, he has turned more underrated, because people talk about him like he is just an average player. But don't forget, last season, he averaged 20 points on good efficiency from 3 and the field, so he's still a solid scorer. The biggest problem with his game is the fact that he's the worst in the playoffs. For example, in this year's playoffs, he was atrocious, with him averaging 16 points on 38% from the field and a horrendous 13% from 3. And if your best perimeter scorer sucks in the playoffs, you need to consider how much you really need him. Philadelphia has some solid role players like Matisse Thybulle, who can be a really good 3-and-D player. They also have Shake Milton, who was solid last season and could be a solid starter due to his shooting and ball handling abilities. They also have Furkan Korkmaz, who is a good floor spacer. So in general, they have a lot of shooters off the bench, and if we compare the 76ers to other teams in the league, I honestly don't view them as one of the top 3 teams. Not because of their lack of talent, but because every year they disappoint in some way, and I think they will again. Like, I don't see Philly being better than the Bucks, Nets, Celtics, Raptors, or the Heat. So I think Philadelphia will finish with the 6th seed this season, and I don't think there's a chance of them making it out of the East. Don't get me wrong, I think they will be good and be a fun team to watch, but not real contenders. Anyways guys, that's it for the video. Let me know how good you think Philadelphia will be next season. Please like this video to show support. Subscribe to my channel to help me reach 500 subscribers before the end of 2020. And comment on this video to start a conversation with me. Also check out these 2 videos up above if you like this one. And I'm out.